Hey! Okay, so long time no see. I just finished my classical routine, and before I move on to the jazz routine, I figured, wait, this is the perfect time to make a video. So part 3 of the All-State series, sight reading. Now to me, as the level gets higher and higher and higher, sight reading becomes the ultimate deciding factor on who gets the best placement, or whoever even makes the band. So in all county, or all city, you know, everyone's just kind of just there. There's a lot of not great players, and there's a lot of great players, and it's pretty easy to determine, all right, this guy's probably first, this guy's probably second, this guy didn't make it, which is okay. But as you get to the all-state level, everyone can play their scales, everyone can play their etudes, everyone has a good sound. So what separates the men from the boys is the sight reading. Now the number one most important thing in sight reading is rhythm. You want to think that there's a conductor behind you conducting as soon as you play. And if you mess them up, not good. So if you mess up a rhythm compared to messing up a note, you're going to probably lose more points messing up a rhythm because it can really alter the pulse, it can throw things off. But if you just mess up, say you forgot to play an implied accidental, that's not as detrimental as messing up a rhythm. Now there's a lot of things I noticed when I was judging. A lot of people will kind of bullcrap rhythms. Say they might see a 16th rest and 8th note and then a 16th note, just something like that. That would kind of play an estimate and then kind of like play it off. They're probably thinking, oh, this is too fast. It's going to go by real fast. The judges won't notice. We notice. Rhythms are exact. When you don't play the rhythms right, you're not fooling anyone. If there's a rhythm you look at and you're still not sure on it, you really need to work that out. Each rhythm has a purpose, and each rhythm has to sound a certain way. Now, the length of each note depends on the style, but either way, rhythms are exact, and rhythms call for an amount of time and space to be filled. Don't bullcrap your rhythms, really work on them. I would show you all the rhythms, but there's already been a million videos done on that already. So before I move on, my 2 cents on the subject of trying to figure out a rhythm you don't know. If you absolutely cannot figure it out yourself, ask a drummer for some advice. A huge advantage I've had is having a brother who's a drummer, and he's older than me, so he has more experience. Growing up, every time I had a problem with a rhythm, I'd be like, hey brother, yeah brother, how you do this? Oh, you go like this, da-da-da-da, thanks brother. And I just kept asking for help till eventually I could figure it out on my own. Now to improve on sight reading, there's 2 things. 1, sight read every day. It's one thing to practice a piece or the same piece every single day and then your muscle memory improves and increases. But it's a whole nother thing to look at brand new music and be able to play it. That takes a whole different skill set than muscle memory. So that other skill set needs to be worked on in order to get better at it. So the best way to get good at sight reading new music is to constantly sight read new music. You need to get used to seeing new stuff. You need to get used to being unfamiliar. You need to get used to having all these strategies when you see something new. So when you walk in the sight reading room, they give you the sheet to sight read and they tell you you have like a minute to look over the piece before you have to play it. First thing I like to do is look at the time signature. After that, I like to look at the key signature. Then after that, I like to look at the hardest measure, usually something really fast. And then I finger that measure at a tempo where I don't mess up. And then once I do that, I let that determine the tempo that I'm going to play it at. Now, if the sight reading gives you a tempo marking like Allegro, then I can't really do that. But if it doesn't, that's how I determine my tempo. I go to the hardest measure, find where I can play it perfectly, and then I do the whole piece like that. That's my little trick. If you've practiced sight reading a lot, there will be a lot of measures where you can just automatically assume, okay, I got that. I don't need to finger through this. Another thing that's really important is to be able to play the piece musically. Now this can be hard, especially since you've never heard it. There's some stuff that can help you with this, such as when you develop true pitch, you can hear the notes in your head when you see them on the paper. Or if you have a good understanding of theory and compositional techniques, you can just look at it just by analyzing the page. I'm going to demonstrate a few examples soon, and then I'll show you exactly what I mean. Now, the other thing to improve your sight reading. Now, to be a great sight reader is kind of an illusion. When people are great at sight reading, when they see things on a page, they've already kind of seen it before. They might see these cluster of notes and instantly be able to identify that as, oh, that's just an A minor triad, starting on the 5th, going down to the tonic. Whereas a less experienced theorist might be like, oh, I see a E, then a C, and then an A. Honestly, playing jazz has increased my knowledge of theory incredibly, and so has these music theory classes in college. But another thing that really improves this is knowing your fundamental scale patterns. So if you've worked on scales, alright, now that's one way to play it, full range of the horn. But of course, there's other ways to play it. And now there's a ton of ways to play a scale, and there's a ton of patterns you can make out of a scale. The more patterns you know, the more familiar any new piece becomes to you, just right off the first look. Now, as I was in high school, I used to make my own exercises a lot, and I still do. But it got pretty exhausting, so I started buying my own books. And through the years, something that really frustrated me is that I never found a book of all the fundamentals for saxophone and all 12 keys for the full range of the horn. It was always maybe like a few keys, or it was maybe all 12 keys but not the full range of the horn. It was never both. I couldn't find something with all the fundamentals, with all 12 keys, and the full range of the horn. Now, I personally believe that it's best to learn your patterns without reading sheet music, because it forces you to develop this mind palace and really become in tune with the saxophone. But it can be priceless to be able to see what these patterns look like on paper, and it's very, very beneficial to your sight reading. So over the summer, I took all the exercises I made, plus a lot more, and I made my own exercise book. I'm finally selling it, and the link is in the description if you're interested. Now, as I play some of these examples, I'm going to relate some of the material to patterns in the book and show you why it's already so familiar to me. So let's go ahead and start the examples. A really good website to practice your sight reading is called Sightreadingfactory.com. I'm not sponsored, by the way, so I'm not pulling your toes here. So we're going to go to Sightreadingfactory.com. I am not logged in, I believe. I'm not logged in. So if you want the full benefits, you do have to pay. But there's plenty you can get for free. So we're going to go to woodwind, alto saxophone. We're going to go to level 3. Random time signature, random suggestion key signature, free play. Alright, so this is in cut time. Very, very easy. This is only level 3. Key of C major, concert E flat. Only 2 dynamics. There's some staccato lines at the end. Everything about this is pretty standard. Now, when I see cut time, I automatically think like marching, like a march. So I'm going to play in that style. And right now I'm assuming that I have 30 seconds to a minute to look, and I'm using that time and I'm thinking out loud what's going through my mind. So in the second line, first measure, you have a third interval, the E to C, which is all in that ebook that I just made. So let's go ahead and start. Oh Oh yeah, I'm using the iPhone mic and it always adjusts the audio level. So if you don't hear dynamics very well, I apologize beforehand. Because if I play piano, it's going to adjust the audio to play in this volume. If I play forte, it's going to adjust the audio back at that center volume. So it's really frustrating. But I'm trying to get a better mic because my other mic is trash. Okay, so that was level 3, really easy. Let's go back to level 4. Alright, and we're gonna go back to free play. Okay, so now we're in 3-2. Pretty much cut time again. But there's 3 beats to measure. We're in the key of G. Everything looks pretty easy. There's a lot more articulation, more nuanced things. But I see accidentals, not too much of a problem now. So there's some syncopated stuff in the second to last measure there. We have a crescendo into the forte. Make sure you don't miss that. It's a lot of detail to really capture, so I'm not going to go too fast. Oh yeah, notice that before I play, I always determine my pulse, and I always take a breath within that pulse. So you're not going to see me go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. That'd be weird, and you're definitely not going to see me go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. That's just weird. So this is in 3-2, so I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Now notice that I held each note for their length that it's implying in the sheet music. You know, I'm not cutting off a note too short, I'm not cutting off a note too long, etc. So this wasn't too bad. Let's try level 5. Let's go back. We're gonna go level 5. Okay, so obviously this is a bit harder, and so we're not going to go that fast. So 5-4, it's in key of B flat. Now if you look at the final measure, you have a triad going down into a G minor triad. So this might not be in B flat, this might actually be in G minor. So it's a little more melancholy. Any hard rhythms I like to tap out, maybe like, if you look at the third measure, da 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 da. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. I know it might look intimidating, but just break it down. Don't be intimidated if you really worked on your rhythms at home. This really shouldn't scare you. It looks scary in the big picture, but once you look at it one by one, it's really easy to break down, as you saw. It's freezing in this room, so my reed is drying up, so I'm going to hurry up. Let's try level 6. A little nervous. They have updated this site a lot, so this might be a disaster. Okay, so this is pretty rough. So let's just break it down. Definitely the hardest measure is that the last 2. So I'm actually going to count this in by the 8th note. So rather than da 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 da, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now it doesn't have a tempo marking, so we have liberty to do that. That being said, since we're going to play it by the 8th note, this is immediately a lot easier. So let's go ahead and try it. It's all in piano, so that makes things a lot easier. There's no like articulation marking other than that tie. So let's go ahead and try it. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Alright, so my low B didn't come out. This reed as dry as ever. It's like 2 degrees in this room. So that low B didn't come out, so I probably would have got a few points taken off for that. But everything else was pretty fine. So that's how to break down some pieces. And there's a lot of other stuff going on in my mind, but I can't say everything. But there's a lot of stuff that goes through your mind, and you're your own exclusive player. You could be better than me, you know. Make the most of yourself. So sight read every day, and I really suggest looking up some of these patterns in my book. If you buy the book, shoot me an email, and I'll write you like a special thank you. I hope this video helped, and I'm very glad to be finally done with this series, and have an incredible day.